Hey y'all, this is Cindy. I'm the Tireless Tangler, and you've arrived at lesson 8 in our Tangled Ribbon Flower project. Thank you so much for being with me today. I know the last video was frustrating for some of you. The pencil lines were truly too light for everybody to see easily, and I'm deeply apologetic about that. I'm very sorry. But hopefully we'll figure this out as we go, okay? So I have already gone ahead and drawn in my permanent lines, as you saw at the end of the day before yesterday's video. Okay, so for today's lesson, we are going to choose one of these petals and do a tangle in it, okay? And today's tangle is going to be named PUF. Well, it is named PUF. It is by Carole Ohl, who is one of the very first CZTs out there, and at least in the United States. And this is a very easy, cool pattern, but the step out is confusing. So I'm going to show you how to draw this today, and then I'm going to pick one of these petals and put it in there, all right? Okay, so just before we get started with the step out, I just wanted to point something out that's probably clear to most of you from seeing this, right? Is that I drew my lines with my brown PN, which is pretty dark, and then I drew my inner aura lines with my 01 in brown, okay? These are a slightly different color of brown, okay? And the reason that I've chosen to use brown is that when you have a colored background and you're going to be tangling over color, brown is a really good choice because it tends to merge with all the colors well. Plus, it can blend into the background easier than black lines. So I'm probably going to do all of my tangling in brown. Now, I may get through one petal and decide that's not the effect that I wanted. And I always have the choice to redraw these in black, which I hope I'm not going to want to do because that's going to be a lot of scary work for me with the shaky lines. But this is why I'm using brown, and so I'm going to continue to use these through the step out, and this is the reason why I'm using brown. Okay. All right. This is a square grid based tangle. However, once you get the hang of it, you're going to be able to put it into all kinds of different spaces. Okay. I am going to go ahead and make these a little bit wider and larger than we'll be using. It's because this step out has caused some confusion with people, and I want to have a large enough space to show you clearly on. Now, I'm not going to use the top and bottom section. I'm just being lazy with this. So you just need approximately square grid, okay? All right. So the first step is to treat this like the tangle bales, okay? That is an original Zentangle pattern or tangle. And bales is done with one of these little echo lines. That starts in one corner and goes to another. And this is going to be fairly thin so that you have some room to work with. If you get too flamboyant with these, and I'll use this as an example, then you have a lot less room in the square to work with, right? Okay. So assuming these are continuing, we'll go ahead and do this on all sides. And this is exactly the way in which the tangle bales is constructed. And bales is an important one to know. That is part of the first excuse me, Bales is part of the first, as I said, 102 original Zentangle tangles back from the beginning, when they first started Zentangle. And but they also, in the Zentangle primer or primer, they use bales to illustrate their first tile as one of the tangles there, along with Hollabaugh, Crescent Moon, and Printemps. Wow, I'm really impressed with myself right now. I remembered all that. Okay. All right, now I'm not going to draw in these top circle, or this top row or the bottom row, okay? I'm going to focus on this section right here, all right? I don't want anyone to be confused about that. And let me close off this and this so that we have equal squares, all right? Okay. So this next part is called a Greek key. I don't understand it and I didn't look it up, but you start in one corner and you're going to aura along, match your lines. Oh, I wasn't supposed to do that. I'm sorry. This is supposed to be blank. We'll get this done again. You're supposed to draw this little sort of maze thing to the center. Let me do one again and get it right this time. I apologize. I hate making mistakes when I'm stepping things out for you. Stop. And see, this continues on sort of like a maze. This is apparently called a Greek key. This isn't something I don't know, so, you know, I'm just repeating what Carole Ohl's blog says about this. This part is not hard. The confusion comes with the next step. And most people, once they see it drawn, it's not a problem for them, apparently. So I'm going to show you how it's drawn. This ends up looking so cool and dynamic. You guys it will surprise you. It's sort of one of those optical surprise things, which so many tangles are cool, have cool versions like that. You just continue on to the center, okay? And leave this blank. Although I'm not sure. Oh, I guess I can see what difference that is going to make. So this is very zenful to just ink in. So this intersection, this little maze looking thing, is called a Greek key. As we've established, I don't know why. Now, this is the step that gets people confused, because in the step out, it's not really clear what she does between this step and the final product. So let me show you what this is. What we're going to do is we're going to connect all of these corners here with the center, okay? But we're going to do it by connecting these corners spots right here. So let me show you, like this, okay? So then turn it, you know, and if they go funky with them. You know how I feel about the funk? I like it. Bring on the funk. All right? And so each corner, and if this doesn't match, whoops, I got the shakes going on today. So this is what we're going to have. So you're not making a cross. Well, you are. You're sort of making a cross from corner to corner, but it's more complex than that. You're lining up these corners that you have drawn into the center. Okay? Like this. So it's not hard, but I think in the step out it was just a little bit difficult to see what the process was, and there was no explanation with it, so it was a little bit confusing. I managed to figure it out though, so There we go. Now you're starting to see some of the cool on this, right? The hardest part for me is lining up the corners with my lines. That's nothing new, right? So I have been missing our other format a lot. Oops. Even though I'm enjoying this project, I don't think it's as companionable maybe as the last one, and so I'm thinking about changing my plans up a little bit and moving back towards that more traditional setting where we're doing tiles and such. So now this is PUF, and again, I haven't filled in these other sections, although I could. And then, you know, but not necessary. So let me show you about shading for a little bit. So all we want to do now is really emphasize the hollows and the dips and all of this. We want to make this look 3D, and she calls it puff because when you shade in this way, these sections puff out like a pillow. Yes, and I'm borrowing Mari's pillow right now, so he's very touchy about that. Welcome to the show, Mar. Welcome to the show. That's my baby. You guys know we are almost adopted. We expect in the next 2 months to have everything finalized. And I don't know about him, but I'm pretty pumped up. We have been fighting this battle for so long. And it is wonderful, wonderful to know that my baby is going to be mine forever. That is such a freeing, joyful thought. It's also terrifying. I'm afraid I'm going to screw him up. Hey, I heard that, buddy. Yeah. Acting all innocent. He knows my buttons. He knows how to push them really well, as most children do. He is just as mischievous as those two little ones that we had on the video back on the 100th day, Jay and Javion and Marcel. They were here yesterday. And the Henri went nuts. Simba had such a good time with little boys to play with again. He was a happy camper. It was good to see Mari active and smiling and having fun. Even though the little kids annoy him, you know, he's at that big brother age. But he sure does entertain them well. He's really good at that. Of course, he's good at that with Simba, too. Something to think about. If there are any jobs that require orneriness, I've got the kid for you. Because he's got that in spades. All right. So I don't know how effective my shading example will be in this light. However, you should be able to see where it gets its name, right? And this was incredibly simple to draw. And so this is what I'm going to use for my ribbon today, because I need some simple. Now, where to start? Well, I think I'm going to start small and work my way out. We'll see. So I'm going to be using my 01 in brown to draw today, as I said. And I'm just going to set up a square grid. And as I told you guys before, this works with wonky grids too. You just have to be able to sort of flow with the lines. And that's something, of course, that will take some practice. wonky grids intimidated me for a long time until I saw one done, and then I got sort of excited and started to practice. Okay, so I'm going to try to square these off. Let's see. But I'm going to put a slight curve in here. And I'm just going to let each one get larger, as we have learned to do. Okay, now I'm going to go around the edges except for these two up here, and I'm going to add my Bale's start. Take a deep breath, Cindy. Everybody breathe with me. Relax your arms and shoulders. Relax the hold on your pen. You can tell that I am really shaky today. And as counterintuitive as that seems, I am just going to really focus on relaxation with my pen and my hand. Okay, let's go down this way and try not to get that too large. Okay, and then I'm going to do let's do the center line first, and we're going to do one of these on each side. So I really have missed doing tiles with you guys, and I'm trying to come up with a way to sort of continue some of that and have the opportunity to add tangles together and not always be stuck with monotangles and that kind of thing. So I'm trying to think of some good ideas. If you guys have some ideas of way you would like to see things done, please let me know. I also have a message for my tireless tanglers in my membership group. You guys, I owe you a live stream or a Zoom class of some kind, and there are 3 of you in this tier, and so that would be a really close, intimate kind of way to tangle together. And so if you guys would let me know where you're located, that would help me out, and that way I can plan time-wise for something that you guys can all participate with. Okay? And my travelers and tanglers, you guys also are going to have a Celtic knot video coming up where we incorporate tangling into that. And so if any of you guys are interested in that class or Zia creation video, just, check out the membership, the community tab. And if you're on an iOS device and you cannot see my blue join button, you can, in Safari, load the desktop version of YouTube. Force the desktop version. You can do that, I think, with the little 3 dots. And if you can do that, force the desktop version, then you can look at my channel there, and you will see that blue join button there, and you can join us like that. And for that group, it's only $5 a month, or $4.99. So a good deal. All right. Now, first I'm going to draw in on my full squares, and I guess I'll start with the small ones and try not to make a mess. That one is not going to be particularly effective, but this one should be okay. So just draw in your Greek key. Like I've been telling you guys, square grids are going to work really well for this too, in addition to ribbon style tangles. In some instances, square grid type things work even better. I think tomorrow I will probably use Sarnia Cherie, or maybe we'll do a different new one. We'll see. Just go till you can't go anymore. It is possible to pack these really densely or pretty loosely. It just depends on where you're going. But whatever way you decide, you might want to make them consistent with each other. Okay. Really focusing on the stroke of my pen and trying to stay relaxed. I can feel myself shaking as I make the strokes, but you can probably see it. But once I put the pen on the paper, it gets better. So if I can manage my put down cleanly, then the rest of it is usually okay. Carole says this would work with triangles, and it would. You would just have to make your Greek key in a triangular fashion. All right. Simba is begging for some playtime. So you might hear some shenanigans ensuing in there. All right, so just take your time connecting your center. All right. Just connect all of your corners, regardless if they go straight across or not. Some of them will, and some of them will not. And in this configuration, you can almost see this flower forming as a meta pattern, which is cool. This is going to be awesome on here, I think. So I did quite a few experiments with the fine liners that I was going to use and was very displeased with my results. They are Arteza fine liners, and they're water-based, and they spread beautifully, but they react with the ink on my microns, just like the Tombow blender marker did. And again, I'm not sure what that's about, but I need to figure it out. I just know that that's the truth. So after doing some experiments, then I've got my Tombows ready to go because they don't seem to react with the ink, which is strange since their marker blender does. So I don't know. Well, I didn't get that one quite right, but hopefully nobody will notice. Just really go with the corners. Try to just make a line, and whether they're in a row or not, just connect them up. Strange how that works so easily, isn't it? Okay. Some of them will look a bit wobbly. And I do have the fan on today. I apologize. It is really hot here today. Well, I'm being sort of messy here, and I need to not. If you're having trouble seeing where your line should go, shift your tile. That one was interesting. These are not going to be straight, guys. These are going to change. So just go with it. Okay. Just match them up, and I think that is it. All right. I like the way that turned out. I like the fact that we've got these little lines that sort of look straight here along the bottom, and then we have, whoops, I forgot this one. Then we have this cool meta pattern happening in the middle section. So I really do like that. Now, what I'm going to do is take a great leap and get the water-based markers out and see if I can do some shading with those. Now, the question I'm asking myself at this point is, what color do I want to use? I can do a shade of brown. That would be pretty effective. But I can also borrow from one of the shades in the background, blues, these mint greens, and the mauve, or various shades of that. Let's see, what do we want to use today? Well, I'm really leaning towards this pinkish red. And so let's see if I can do this without just hugely making a mess, okay? So this is a Tombow marker, let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, so this is a Tombow brush pen, okay? It is number 755, and it is this pinkish red that I have already tested on my background. This is this one. Okay, and it is water soluble, so I'll be able to blend it with my paintbrush. I, of course, am not using my Tombow blender marker, which would be nice here, but I'm not going to use that because of the pickup of color from the ink of the pens. So let's very carefully, and I am just going to stroke this very gently along these lines here. I'm going to allow my wiggling, since that is happening anyway. It'll just help this look more organic, I hope. We're going to hope for that. This, when it's blended out, ends up being a very bright sort of neon pink. I can live with that. I decided coming into this time, last time I did, and I apologize for not answering this question that I got in comments, and I think it was Nancy Pearson again that was asking this. And she has some really good questions, which is why I tend to share them with you guys. She wanted to know whether on the original picture that I did, that I showed you guys in the beginning of the project, if I colored the whole background, whether I colored around the flower and left the flower black and white. And that's what I did. I drew in my flower form first, and then once I was finished with the flower, then I put in the background, and I think I used colored pencil around it. So I'm trying to take my time and use very little of this ink here. It's because I don't want to be overwhelmed with pink. I want it to still be, you know, I don't know. We'll see. And once again, this is the reason that I chose to use brown. It's because it will blend in with whatever color scheme that I try to use, and also work with this background. Okay. All right. There now. Let's see if I can blend this out into something pleasing, or if I'm just going to cry. That's always an option for me. All right, let's try this. It's a little bit wet. Let's grab a paper towel. Some of my aqua brushes tend to run freer with the water than others, and so I always pick the one that works the best for me as far as control goes. Got a little more than I wanted right there, so I'm going to try to lift some of it out. We want to really try to keep the tops of these clean so that there's a little bit of white showing through, or background showing through, I should say. Hopefully you guys can do a little bit better job than I'm managing here. And this is a great example of why I chose to use the ink tints on the background, because I can do this all day and none of that color is going to lift or blend in with what I'm doing on top. I think maybe if I do my decorating with colors that are in the background and just making them more intense, that might be a good effect. And this might be really awful. We're going to find out. It's always fun. Make sure to wipe off your brush as you go. It will pick up more and more pigment. And then you're liable to get something a little bit too overwhelming. So in essence, I'm using this color to accentuate my shading. I can still put graphite in on top of this if that's what I want to do. This leaves me with several options. I can even come back in here with colored pencil and accentuate my shading with that on top of here. It just depends. You know, perhaps you want it to be a little pinker or a little redder. You can always go on top here with colored pencil. Just keep in mind, the more that you scrub over an area, the harder that tooth is going to get worn, okay? Now, on these areas where I've encroached into my aura line, I will probably just dab some of that out with a jelly roll and not worry about that. If you get too much in, hopefully you can lift that out. Just make sure that brush is clean when you start. I love using aqua brushes. I find them so convenient. I don't have to worry about dirty water. I just, wipe them off as I go, and it's just the perfect solution. And I don't have to worry about, open jars of water. And so they're really, Really a lovely thing to have in your tangle kit. Now I am getting some lift up on my paper at this point, so I put down a fair bit of water here. But it's not bad. I guess you could call this a neon pink or a hot pink. Probably closer to hot pink. I have a perfect Prismacolor pencil that would go with this. But I have decided also that I am going to be using my polychromos pencils more often because I feel like I'm not giving them a fair chance when I compare them to the Prismacolors. I've spent many years with my Prismacolors. I know their colors backwards and forwards. I can recognize most of them by sight. So it's really not fair to compare a set of pencils without truly getting to know them. So I'm going to be, my goal now is to be using those more frequently in projects. So I'm going to try to use those, except for my white Prismacolor, which will for sure be showing up in this project. Probably on the tops of these, for example. Okay. So that's very bright, very bright. That's okay. Let's put away the paintbrush. I'm going to dry this off quickly with my hair dryer. Normally I wouldn't bother with that, I would just let it dry naturally, but I want to use my white Prismacolor on this. Or I could use white charcoal. Let's find out how that works. Actually, that white charcoal loves that hot surface. I think I'm going to do this for now, and if I decide later I want Prismacolor on there, because again, you can go over this white charcoal, but you can't go over the Prismacolor with anything, so. And anytime you've got a colored surface, this white charcoal pencil is a great option for highlighting. Oh, this looks good. I like it. It's pretty dynamic. And you can erase this with a regular pencil eraser if you want to. Not easily, particularly, but it can be done if you need to. All right. Now let's see where we're at. Well, I do like this. Let's dab out these little spots on the corners or edges with the jelly roll. I don't want to use a lot, but I am going to use some here. I am barely touching down. Okay. Since we've got a colored background already, we don't have to be perfect with this. but just touch up a little bit. Keep it clean. Remember also, jelly rolls are water-based. So going over a water-based marker with a jelly roll can be problematic. You may get some bleed in your white. Also, you want to keep your nib clean on your jelly roll. Make sure that because what happens is you roll over this stuff and it pulls the color up into the barrel of the jelly roll. And then you've got pink inside your jelly roll that's going to taint the color that's coming out. So you want to keep your nib clean and clean it regularly. I think this is going to have to dry, and I'll have to go over it once it's dry to get rid of the rest of that pigment right there. And you can see that that does shine in the light, so you have to be careful and use that with caution. Okay? Wow. So this turned out all right. Okay. So this is where we're going to leave this one today. Stay tuned. I may or may not fit some extra videos in, depending on how I'm feeling. I have really been struggling with my health a little bit lately, and so I don't know, but if I miss a day or put an extra video up or something like that, just roll with me and everything's going to work out perfectly. Okay, guys? Thank you so much for being with me today. I'm getting excited about our finished product. Let me zoom out. It's not quite so overwhelming if you get a little perspective from it. And that is pretty. I'll admit it. It is pretty. So come back tomorrow or the next day and see what we do with the next petal. All right, guys. Thanks for being with me today, and I'll see you then.